What we have is a 1966 Ford E100 Econoline Falcon Club Wagon station bus. But from here on out, I'm just going to call it a 1966 Ford Econoline van. It is powered by a 240 inline 6 engine, and the engine was born in Lorain, Ohio on July 66. On top, it has a Holley 1940 carburetor. The transmission is a 3.03 HEF 3-speed transmission, which means 3 on the tree. And we have a 9-inch limited slip differential. Well, there's definitely a few arms and kingpins that need to be replaced. This thing is swerving all over the road at this point. The steering box might need to be redone, refurbished, but I'm not sure. Once the kingpins are done, we'll know if we need to do that. Most of the gauges do not work, and there are some options of maybe doing just, factory replacement. There's a system by Speed Hut. There's also a system by Dakota Digital. Some of this stuff gets pretty pricey. All the switches and knobs and stuff, I've seen better days. So it could be, replace everything with something new, or if there's a way to refurbish these, that might be an option. Looks like we need a new emergency brake handle since this one is cracked. We're missing a floor plate that goes over the master cylinder. The pedals all need new rubber. The headliner needs to be replaced. And we're also missing a sun visor, so we might need to just replace both of them. The interior lights, I don't know what this is, but hopefully this is not factory, because that's awful. But that needs to be replaced. The dash definitely has some serious issues, and it looks like whoever tried to install the stereo kind of mangled up the dash, so that needs to be worked out or replaced. All the window seals and door seals need to be replaced. As you can see, the window seals have literally 1-inch gaps and cracks that I filled with silicone just to try to keep this thing as weather tight as possible while I'm storing it. The doghouse has seen better days, but it's not in horrible shape, and these are hard to find, so we might make a custom doghouse or, kind of bang this one out and get it into a good condition. And the one thing that is missing in this van is the original bench seat. Now, I've done a lot of research trying to find these bench seats, and I've only seen one, possibly two. And the one that I saw that was in an original van might have been the before and after picture, if you will, to the one that was fully restored. And so I'm kind of wondering if there's any possibility of finding one or two of these. I don't really know too much about these because most of the vans don't have them anymore, and I can't find any information on it. So I'm definitely not planning on working on this vehicle for a good 6 months or so. I want to finish the 33 Hot Rod first. However, that doesn't mean that I can't be doing research and getting parts lined up and things like that to get the build going. However, I think there's a great opportunity to bring the community around this and actually get people's feedback and input and ideas, because I'm only one researcher, but if other people have done certain things or restored one of these vans before, or knows what the coolest awesome wheels are to put on this thing, or there's some paint or different color combinations that just really kick ass on something like this, then I'm all ears. And a great way that we could do that is I'll put a list of topics in the description, and then when you make a comment, you could actually sit there and say wheels : and then put your idea down. And then if you have another comment about the paint, then put exterior : and do it that way. And you can make separate posts that all have your different topics. That way, later on, if I want to compile information, I could just do a search for exterior and find out all the paint ideas that people are thinking about. This is what I think will work in concept, and I assume it would. So I really, really would love your feedback and ideas to kind of make this thing come alive. And I'm going to tell you what I think I want to do. And then you could be like, hey, that's not cool. You should try this. And it might be brilliant compared to what I'm thinking. Again, I haven't worked with these vans before, so any ideas I'm open to. So here are some of the ideas that I'm thinking about. First, let's talk about the engine. A lot of people, when they restore these, they put a V8 engine into them. And I don't want to say it's easy to do, but it's not as difficult to do as you would think. And yes, it gives you massive instant horsepower and things like that compared to what this thing is. However, I kind of like the idea of being, I'll say unique in a sense, even though it's not unique, it's the stock engine of the vehicle. But I almost kind of rather keep the original, this is the matching serial number for this vehicle. This is not a swapped out engine, as far as I can tell. And so I think it'd be really cool to keep the i6 in here, rebuild it, give it some horsepower, and it will just be different than everything else out there that is, putting a V8 in there. Now, if there's someone out there that sits there and says, hey, you'd be able to get 20 more grand if you sold this thing if it had a V8 in it, I'll think about that. Resale value means something to me. But I'm also thinking originality in the sense that it's all original. I'm not doing any major modifications, and I'm just souping it up a little bit. There might be more value in that. And so right now we're at 80 horsepower. And one of the things I'll say is there's no books on how to put horsepower on this engine. I've researched everything. I've even talked to the publishers that make books for I think it's the 140, 177, and the 250 engine, which is not the engine to have, if you will. And shockingly, I know people drag race this engine. There's people that put power into these engines and are getting 350, 400 horsepower. 400 might be pushing it, but 350 horsepower. And yet there's no information at all on the internet. Now, there's some information, but it's really scattered. I've gone to, I think it's FordInline6.com or Inline6.com or, you name it, all these different, van.com, all this stuff, and just looking for solid, concrete information. And it just doesn't exist. It's bits and pieces. And some of it applies to a 1978 engine or something like that, but not a 1966 engine. So one of the few people that I have talked to about this inline six engine is Larry from Clifford. And Clifford makes intakes and systems that could go on these inline six engines. And he has a system that comes with headers, the intake, dual Weber carburetors, and there needs to be some modifications to the doghouse. But, he's saying that the 240 engine is actually better to have than the 300 engine because of this, and this. And you could actually get more horsepower out of it depending on what you do to it. And, he had very specific things that he was saying. Stuff like, you want to take 30 off the block to get it to 80. You want to take 0.060 off the head to raise the compression to 89 octane. You want to polish the top of the valves, but don't do this, don't do that, and that's going to add 50 pounds of torque. So at the end of the day, that formula will give you 340 horsepower with 400 pounds of torque on this inline six engine. And that's freaking amazing. However, me and carburetors don't get along, and me and two carburetors really don't get along. So, and I've talked to a few friends of mine, and I'm like, what if I just do an Offenheiser C, which is called Offie C, with a Holley Sniper bolt-on carburetor EFI type situation. And, I'm not going to get 340 horsepower out of it, but maybe I'll get 205 horsepower. And they're like, I would do the EFI all day long. And that's where I stand. But I'm throwing this out to everybody else of what they think. I just like the idea that once I have EFI, I turn the switch, the car runs. I don't care if it's cold out. I don't care if it's warm out. I don't care if I didn't run the vehicle for 3 months. It's just going to start and go. And to me, that's worth the convenience. The other thing I'll say about this engine is it's very finicky. At least everybody says it's finicky, in the sense that they were like, if you're going to drop this engine off and have someone work on it, they need to be an expert at this engine. Because if you just drop it off to anybody and they start polishing the bottom floor instead of the top floor and this and that and that, you can't do that. And they're going to ruin the engine for you. And I've even talked to my engine guys who are, I don't know what all they do, but I know they're LS experts. And, he was like, well, I don't know, it shouldn't be an issue, this and that and that. And I said, yeah, that's not what everybody says on the internet. And so I'm willing to work with my guy because I can't find anybody else who knows anything about these things. But only with strict instructions. So if there's anybody out there that knows the Ford 240 or 300 inline six engine that really knows what they're talking about, or knows somebody who knows what they're talking about, I would love to hear from you. Put it in the comments, put engine : and then give me whatever information you have, because this has kind of been really difficult for me to research. So any help you have, that'd be awesome. For this vehicle, I really want to go back to that Tangelo Pearl, which is kind of this pearlized orange finish. I really wanted to do that on my Factory 533 hot rod until I met my buddy Greg, and he had a Tangelo Pearl orange 33 hot rod. And I was like, well, we can't have two Tangelo Pearl 33 hot rods in this town. And that's not really the main reason, but it kind of is. It kind of is. I think I really like the color selection on my 33, which might actually change a little bit in the same wheelhouse, but change a little bit to get a little bit more mystique out of it. But the original idea of the Tangelo Pearl came from seeing a pickup truck, I believe, that had a satin finish to it. And so the idea is you do it as normal, you put, 5 coats of clear on, high gloss clear, and then the last coat you paint satin over it, and you just get all this depth, you get the pearl, and you get this flat looking finish that just looks freaking mean. It's awesome looking. However, I don't know if things have changed, but that just seems like a nightmare for upkeep. You accidentally put your hand on the vehicle, your hand oils go into the finish, and now you're screwed. You can't really wax the vehicle with any real wax. You might have to use some special wax that, is there such thing as a satin wax? I don't know. Or some kind of protectant. And so if it's that much of a pain in the ass, then honestly, I don't want to do it. But I bring the idea up because I'm bringing the community into this conversation, and I would love to hear the real nuts and bolts of it. Not like, oh yeah, it's great, it's easy maintenance. It's like, no, I want to really know what the maintenance is. You accidentally get a splatter or something, or bird hits it, or whatever, and bird droppings, and then all of a sudden your finish is ruined. Like, I'm just not into that. So I have no problem going with high gloss. That's fine. But just want to throw that option out there. If someone's an expert in the satin finishes, I'd love to hear about it. So what I'm thinking is Tangelo Pearl for the whole car. The chrome seems pretty good. I haven't really super analyzed it, but I'm thinking of keeping all the chrome or maybe redoing the chrome if it need to, because I think it looks nice on the vehicle. It's the windows that I want to switch out in a sense. And so here's some of my ideas. One idea was like, well, maybe I should just take all the windows from the driver's back, if you will, besides the back windows of the truck, and make them go away. Just, make it like a panel van, but keep that indent that you see where the windows are. There's kind of an indent to the whole body, and make it kind of a panel van, which might look cooler. But then I started thinking, okay, what would be really cool and not do all that is just use limousine black on all the windows and just kind of make them go away in a sense. Well, then I saw this picture, which it's against white, so it really stands out. And I'm like, that's not really the look I'm looking for. But then I thought, well, what if I paint that whole inset black? So you got the black limousine windows on black. It makes that kind of go away and and becomes a big feature of the car of this like two-tone black on Tangelo pearl. So, and replacing all the rubber for all the windows is probably going to be $1,500. It's going to be something expensive. And if anybody has a supplier for that, or I might just have to have it custom made by a local installer, that's fine, because I don't think I want to install any of this stuff. Not my wheelhouse. So maybe that black on black will just work perfectly. But I'm open to color ideas. And, I could go full like pearlized, I don't want to say canary yellow, but that the Lexus LC500 yellow is freaking phenomenal, but it's a little too gold. I'd like to go a little more yellow than that. And yellows are hard to find, and they might be hard to paint. So I'm okay sticking with the Tangelo, but there's some combinations there that I wouldn't mind looking at, but I definitely want to make those windows kind of go away a little bit. And I think the black is a good idea. One of the things I didn't know about on this van is whether these mirrors were an option. Is this a factory option? Is this something that was added on afterwards, 20 years after the car was bought? I'm not sure. If anybody knows, I've never seen these mirrors on any of the vans anywhere that I've looked at from, tons of pictures and stuff. So if people have a vote on that, or, we could put it back to the original, that would be cool. I just don't know what that is. I am familiar with a few stores like Max and stuff like that, and they make these remanufactured parts, and I've called them before, and they were useless in any kind of information. And it's like, this is what you guys specialize in. Now, maybe I got a new guy, I don't know what the deal was, but he didn't give me any information, couldn't tell me anything about anything. He was like, here's the part, do you want to order it? It's like, that doesn't help me when restoring a vehicle that's 60 years old, dude. So anybody has information on that, that would be awesome. And then for the wheels, I'm thinking about staying in that kind of muscle car kind of look. And the thing that I came up with is called a torque thrust wheel, which is similar to my 33 hot rod. It would be all in like billet or chrome. And I think it would match, the rest of the chrome that's going to be on the vehicle. If anybody has any better ideas or any other cool ideas that might work for this vehicle, I am totally open to that, and would love to see some links to some cool pictures of wheels that would be worth buying. And however, please only send me wheels that I don't want to say exactly will fit this van, but like if you're showing me a really cool design that only fits on Lamborghinis, that doesn't help me. So I'll kind of want to narrow the scope to stuff that we know is going to fit or would be applicable to this vehicle. I believe it's 15-inch wheels. I have no idea what the backspace stuff is, but this is a factory wheel, and so it's easy to go, I have a 1966 Ford Econoline van, what fits this vehicle, and then you'll get a list of stuff. The interior in this vehicle right now, when it comes to the sidewalls and everything, was actually really done well. And it could be really possible to just remove those panels, have them, refurbished, refabric to whatever color I'm going to do, pop them back on the vehicle, and that's maybe an inexpensive way of doing something. However, maybe it's not. Maybe I just start from scratch and start over. I don't really know what to do with the walls of the vehicle. What I'm kind of thinking is, I'm very familiar with let's say the Raptor bed liner, and I could use that as a base on the actual floor of the van. But I could also put, let's say, carpet on there. Now, let's say I want to go get a piece of plywood from, Home Depot and throw it in the back of the van. Well, sliding that across the Raptor, which I think is fine, but not for a show vehicle, right? You're just going to kind of mar it up a little bit. So I'm thinking what might be cool is to put the Raptor down and then have an actual like roll out floor rug that I could roll in and then like slide a piece of plywood on. Or I could just have the whole van, you know, carpeted and then we don't have to worry about it. But that carpet is now being used in a sense where if I have a throw rug or something that I'm putting down, I could throw it out afterwards and get a new one. So I'm thinking about ideas like that. That's really the only thing I've come up with so far. You know, there's the guy from Full Custom Garage who's phenomenal at doing metal work, and he actually did a dual Falcon show where there was actually a Ford Falcon and then there was the Ford Falcon Club Wagon. And he did some great metal work and all that stuff. And they ended up doing this like Kentucky bamboo headliner weird kind of thing on the inside, which is definitely not me. That's like, you know, I'm more like modern flair to a vintage look, or full modern. But since I have a vintage vehicle, I call it vintage modern. So definitely not into that. But any ideas for, you know, what a headliner should look like? Should it be tufted? Should it be, you know, any of that kind of stuff? I'm all ears. I definitely need, you know, the switches again redone. I need possibly 2 sun visors or 1 original sun visor, so for the passenger side, so I could actually refurbish both of them. I need ideas for interior lights and what I could put into the van, and I'll probably put a stereo back in this vehicle and also put Focal speakers, which is kind of my preference. If you're not familiar with Focal, they are pretty much the world's best. Very revealing and awesome sounding speakers. And so I'd probably put that in. They actually had, you know, those speakers that looks like a brick, and then you have the L bracket that, or U bracket that holds the speakers. That's what was in the van originally. So it's like, yeah, we're not doing that. So, you know, we're going to make this thing pretty nice. Now, the biggest thing is, I think we were talking about those bench seats. So I would really like to possibly entertain the idea of putting bench seats in there. I know that limits the use of the van afterwards, but it also allows you to take friends and go places with it. So I kind of want to see, you know, if we can find some of those bench seats. That would be freaking awesome. So, and then I could create some kind of unique way to like quick release them or something out of the van, and if I needed to haul something. So that would be kind of cool. Air conditioning. You know, I don't know. This van didn't come with air conditioning. It came with some air vents and kind of like a heater type vent unit where you literally like grab a handle and open up the vent and let the air flow in. Do I want to add air conditioning to this vehicle? It would be awesome if it had air conditioning. You know, I don't know, like, this ain't going to be a daily vehicle. Is it a special vehicle you drive every once in a while? I don't know if it's worth it to put it in. It's kind of a high expense. I'd have to reroute some ducts. Might have to put, I don't know if I could fit ducts in the headliner. You'd have to maybe have it all up front and possibly remove the system that's there now to make space for a system that you would put in there. And then it might be just one of those systems that has the 4 vents built into it, you know, pushing out the center. Or do I actually run some kind of tubes underneath the vehicle and pop holes in the sides and, you know, get the back of the van cool too? Not really sure. We'd love to hear input on any of that, but right now I'm thinking like I might just ignore that and move on, and it only has heat. So love to hear your ideas. How to approach this project and what order do I do it in? So the first thing that I've done is I've gotten the car running, and you know, you saw me go through the videos originally, which was 2 years ago, and I got kind of everything running. Since then, I've had to replace the fuel pump because gas just started pouring out of it. I still need to put a hose on there. You saw there's a hose missing off the carburetor, but the vehicle will run, and I could get it off and on a trailer, and I can move it around, and I could actually drive it down the street. It shifts fine. You know, everything's working. It's just, it's only 80 horsepower, so it's a little putt-putt, if you will. So the idea that I had was, the first thing I do is I leave it working, I take it down, and I go get it media blasted. Whether that's walnut shells or whatever, I'm open to hear some information on that. You know, I definitely don't want to ruin the metal, but there is a lot of paint and stuff that I need to get off this vehicle. Now, what I'm planning on doing is doing the inside, like blasting, the outside blasting, and the whole underneath of the vehicle, and, you know, the differential, everything, like blast it all. And so if you guys have comments on, you know, the underside needs to be done with, you know, sand or whatever, and, you know, the top needs to be done with walnut to preserve the exterior, or you could do everything in walnut or whatever, I don't know. So I would love to hear comments on that. And so what I'm thinking is I take it down, I get it fully blasted. Once it's fully blasted, and I'm assuming if I'm going to fully blast it, we're looking at, you know, pulling the lights, bumpers, you know, dash components, and probably putting them in a bag and sealing them because they probably still need to be connected for the system to work. Remove all the windows and then get it, you know, all blasted. Bring it back, start all the metal work, you know, pull the engine, hopefully simultaneously work on the engine and get that built. Probably do the whole underside and get that coated. I'm assuming maybe a gloss epoxy black. I don't think I really want to use like a bed liner or sealer or anything like that. I think I just wanted a really nice epoxy paint. And even though this vehicle technically doesn't have a frame, I'm calling this kind of a frame off restoration, where I want to really do it really nice. And so I'm thinking of doing that, and then the body work is being done. The walnut shells is kind of put some kind of something on the metal so it's preserving it so it just doesn't instantly rust. But my metal guys will tell me whether I need to, you know, like instantly, you know, put some primer or something on there. And then, you know, once all that's done, the metal work's done, definitely put primer on it no matter what. Now, I'm assuming after it's primered that we could actually probably paint the outside of the shell and the inside of the shell, assuming the bottom's already painted at that point. The next part of that process, I believe, would be doing some kind of interior insulation. So I could do a Dynamat, I could do the lizard skin ceramic and noise or sound deadening. I could do Dynamat on top of that also, so I could have all three going. Would love to hear people's comments on that, but I think it'd be really good to do some kind of deadening throughout, you know, most of the van, possibly even the ceiling, and then have, like, if I do a headliner, I'm not putting it in, I'm going to actually take it to a place and have them, you know, do what it is. You know, of course, the door jambs, the dash, and there's a bunch of parts inside the van that need to be painted correctly to match the rest of the van, so that'd be all in orange. And then after that, I think we'd be able to put the engine back in and then start actually putting the headliner and all that stuff back in. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. You know, then I'd have to take it to a special shop to have all the seals done on the windows and have the windows put in. In the meantime, before that, I would actually repolish all the windows and get them all cleaned up. They're actually in great shape, but a little glass polish will, you know, make them look brand new, and so that would be perfect. And then also, you know, all the door handles and stuff, they're all chrome and they're in decent condition, but they do have some pitting and stuff. So probably want to start over or just buy new handles, not really sure, or strip them down and have them recoated, not really sure which one is easiest to work with. Love to hear comments on that. So that's kind of the idea of how I think I want to approach it. If you have a more specific order that you think would be best, I would love to see what that is. And I really appreciate that, all the comments and the help that you guys are willing to give me. I'm kind of walking into a new territory. I really don't know how much metal work I will personally be doing. I'm always willing to learn and work on stuff. But with this project, you know, we're definitely going to have an interior person. You know, we're definitely having a media blast person, because I'd spend my life, you know, trying to get the paint off this vehicle. And my neighbors wouldn't be too happy about that either. So it becomes a toxic issue and stuff like that. And I've already had comments from people like, "You're not going to do that here in your driveway, are you?" No, I wasn't thinking of that at all. So, you know, I'm sensitive to that. That's fine. I like my neighborhood. I want to stay here. But yeah, anything we could do to, like, you know, we got 6 months at least to kind of flesh out these ideas, make plans, and the more comments I get now, the more I can research some of that stuff as we go, and maybe do an update video that, you know, tells you what I'm thinking, and all right, here's stage 2, and here's the minutia that I want to discuss with everybody. So if you're willing to play along, I think this will be a better project in the long run, and some of your input will be, you know, added into the van, so that'd be awesome. So that's it for me, and I hope you enjoyed this, and appreciate your input. Have a great day.